Welcome to another episode of the Empowered Empaths. My name is Wanda Vitale. I'm your host. And today my message is for those of you who are 50-ish, could be late 40s, could be early 50s. There is a dynamic that happens for many of us at about this age when there is a major course correction in our lives. It certainly happened to me. It happens to a lot of my clients. And the course correction meaning we have been living lives that make everybody else happy. So many of us as empaths became caretakers as children. We had parents who didn't know how to parent, or there were other things going on. And certainly in my life, there were a lot of things going on. And my mother didn't have the bandwidth when my father was in the hospital to be a parent. So, like many of you, I became self-sufficient. I didn't have anybody there to help me deal with emotions. I didn't have, like many of you, I just raised myself. So, and we grow up with a lot of beliefs that say, well, this is how it is. So we become caretakers. We think it's the right thing. We let our guilt drive our behavior. We say, oh, well, I should do this. Well, this is the time right now. As I'm recording this, it is, let's see, March 7th. And we're in all this, we have a Pisces new moon on Sunday. And all of these deep emotions are coming up, like this deep guilt. It could be deep fear. Many of the people that I work with now are moving through some pretty major changes for their course correction. They're in a marriage that doesn't work anymore because, and I did this too. I thought I was supposed to, go get married and have the big career, and I thought it would make me happy. It didn't. I married the wrong person because of how I grew up. I couldn't have been any other way. So we have all this guilt that can come up. We have blame that can arise because we think, I'm doing something wrong. I hear this all the time. I must have done something wrong. I made the wrong decision. I know better. How could I have done that? So if you're going through some of this now, it's just a course correction, and it always happens somewhere in our early 50s. I just talked to one of my clients yesterday, and when she was 52, she walked out with only her purse from her marriage. She's 60 now. She was in a marriage that was emotionally abusive. And when we grow up in a household as children with narcissists as parents, or with parents who do the best they can, but they're not nurturing, that's abuse. So we go marry somebody that, if we get married, we partner up with someone that feels familiar. So somewhere in our early 50s, your soul says, it is time. Course correction. So that's what this buildup of energy is. Course correction. When it is really time for you to look at your life and be honest and say, what would I love? If I could wave a magic wand in my life and it's 3 years from now, what would I love? We're not here to take care of anyone. This is the age of Aquarius, when everybody is being invited, if not pushed, to move into their authenticity, to realize that we can want what we want because it makes us happy, and everybody else is the same. Everybody gets to be who they are, and we can do that when we allow ourselves to create the kind of life that we would love. So right about now, So many people are saying, I can't do this anymore. I don't like, do I get a divorce? What do I do? Right? So if you're going through this right now, I'm recording this to let you know you're not doing anything wrong. It is the mess that you're feeling this because you're out of alignment with who you came here to be before you took on this body. We can't do anything wrong. Our minds would tell us that we make decisions and that we've made bad decisions. What has happened, in fact, is that everything in our lives has been rigged by your soul, by your higher self, so that you would have a very specific experience. So that when you come to this course correction that usually happens in your mid-50s, that the wisdom that you gain on the other side of it can help someone else. So this is what's happening. Stop feeling guilty if you feel guilty that you're not doing what you should do. I talked with a client this morning and she didn't realize that when we caretake other people, saying, okay, I'll help you. I'll help you. What we're really saying is you're powerless. I know you're powerless and you can't move through this. So I'll help. So our caretaking just locks other people in this powerlessness, and they never grow into their own sense of self and power. So I know from talking to several people, this is really up right now in the collective. And so if this is happening for you, it's rigged, it's orchestrated for you to say, what do I want? What do I want in 3 years? What do I want my life to feel like? You may not know what the details are, but you know how you want to feel. You know that you want to feel at peace. You know that you want more joy and more creativity in your life. And so right now, I would suggest that you stop the guilt, stop the self-judgment, and realize that this is a rite of passage for you that happens with just about everybody in your mid-50s. Things like divorces, deaths, big things that can feel big because it is a major course correction and because you are here to work with a collective in some way. You just are. Not everybody goes through this. Not everybody goes through really tough stuff. But if you're going through tough stuff right now, you're here to change. You're here to make a change in the collective. And it may be working with people. It may be your business practice, or it could be you meet somebody at the vegetable aisle at the grocery store, and suddenly they're pouring out their hearts to you, and you can help. But you haven't done anything wrong. It's all for a reason. It is all perfectly orchestrated by the greater part of you that some call your soul, but it is you. It's all you saying, hey, it's time. So if you are experiencing a really tough time now, stop judging yourself. Look at, what would I love? Stop trying to push down the pain that you're feeling and feel it. If it's guilt, feel it. A lot of what's coming up right now, for at least with the people that I work with, are unresolved emotions from our childhood, because we did not have parents who held us and soothed us as 2-year-olds or 3-year-olds because they didn't know how. We have to do it now. So if there's fear coming up, it's just unresolved fear that you're holding in your system from your childhood. Put your finger on wherever, if it's fear or wherever it's most intense, put your finger on your body and just feel. That's all we have to do. Stay out of how it happened, why it happened, where it happened. Just feel it. And it subsides, it goes away. And you can do this with any feeling. Overwhelm. So many people are overwhelmed right now. Where is that overwhelm concentrated in your body? And just feel. We're not here to navigate with our minds. And this is the big switch that so many of you are going through right now. We've all done it. We've relied on our minds and our logic to get us through life. Again, as a traumatized little child, we had to develop survival strategies. And part of that is being very logical and practical. But I am here to tell you that magic doesn't happen with our little pea brain minds. It happens when we surrender to the greater part of us and say, okay, I don't like this. Here's what I want. I want more fun in my life. I want more freedom. I want a house by the beach. I want a great relationship. So when we imagine what that feels like, feel that. That's like putting an order in at a restaurant and expecting, and then you expect that you're going to be given cues from your higher self so that it can happen. So we're learning to navigate, not with our minds, but to navigate in a dance with your mind and the rest of you that is non-physical, that has access to everything, that cues up the magic, that gives you ideas, that tells you the next step. So this is what's going on. So I would invite you, if you're in your mid-50s, look at this as a rite of passage, not as I've done something wrong. If we had been raised by shamans, we would look at these situations as a rite of passage where there was more wisdom coming in. But here in the West, we weren't raised that way. We were raised, and especially as empaths, to say, well, I did something wrong. But it's so right. I walked out on my marriage when I was in my mid-50s. That's when I told my ex-husband I would rather live in a tree than endure one more day. I had no safety net. It was after the real estate crash. I had nothing but debt, and it all worked out. So I did the same thing after my accident when I was given a diagnosis. I imagined what I wanted, what I was choosing, and followed the prompts, followed the ideas, and my life turned around. We're here to do seemingly impossible things. So if your life seems to be ready to split apart, well, you're one of the way showers. You're one of the path pavers, because you're here to show the world, look, I did impossible things and you can too. So it's an amazing time, and I know it's really scary, but surrender. Surrender. When you feel the fear, give it to your higher self. Here, take this. Here, show me what I need to do. Tell me what I need to do. How good can this get? What else is possible? When we feel fear, it's a cue for us to say, I'm doing that thing again that I do. and I need to just get out of the way. My guides, when I was in the thick of it in my own life, my guides told me that it was like me clutching this big hard basketball against my solar plexus. That when the bottom of my life fell out after the accident, I had no money. I'd already gone through a divorce, and this was the next level. I had no money. I couldn't work. I still had a full leg brace on, and I had to walk my talk. And that's what many of you are here to do. Walk your talk. So when the fear comes up, my guide said, you've got to give us the ball, because when we're afraid, it does feel like we're clutching this big hard basketball against our solar plexus. That's what it feels like. We're in a knot. We feel overwhelmed. We're overwhelmed because we're trying to figure it out in our minds. And that is when we're all balled up. We're focused on the problem. The solution cannot come in. It's just energetically impossible. So no matter what you're going through, if you're going through a tough time right now, you've got to give your own higher self or your guides or your angels, whatever you communicate with, give them the ball. Here, take this. Here, as soon as you surrender, like, here, I got a problem here. Take this, figure it out for me. Your body relaxes. And as soon as your body relaxes, then you're open to guidance. So this is the practice when we don't know what to do. We're learning how to dance with the rest of us. We're learning that instead of being troubled, instead of feeling like we're letting everybody else down, that it's time to put ourselves first and to dance with the rest of ourselves that has access to everything, all possibilities, past and future, because there is no time. It's all, time is the big illusion. Everything is now. But the first step is to say, here, take this. Let me know, figure this out. Let me know what I need to do. And our job is to stay aligned with the solution. What does that mean? It means we feel relief. So if you need to go, if your things are falling apart, you need to go take a walk, or you need to do something that puts you in this state of relaxation. I lived in Phoenix when my big life redo was happening, and I'd go out in the backyard and water plants. Just for that moment, my body would relax, and then ideas would come in. Do this, right? Call so-and-so, or something would just land in my face, which is what happens. Some things land in front of your nose that defy logic. And that's how we move through these big recalibrations, life adjustments, one day at a time, 1 hour at a time sometimes. And as long as we get out of the way, meaning stop doubting and truly understand that there's the rest of you that just isn't physical, and it's here to help us. But we have to let it, right? We have to give up the stress. We have to give up the need to control. And if you do that, there is just such magic that happens. And as you do this, your life becomes a testament to being empowered and awakened. And that's really why you're here. You're here to be an example for other people. How'd you do that? How'd you do that? Because that's why you're here. Otherwise, you would not be experiencing whatever you are right now that is making you feel like, oh my God, something's got to give. I can't do this anymore. It's all so perfect. And on the other side, you will look back at this, as I have done, and as my clients have done. You will look back at this and say, oh my God, that was the hardest thing I've ever done. And it was the best thing I've ever done. Because ultimately, we are moving into or moving from feeling powerless to powerful, and understanding that you can be, do, or experience absolutely anything. And that's the process that you're walking yourself through right now in this crunch, if that's what it feels like. So stop trying to tolerate things that you don't want to tolerate. Let everybody move into their own sense of power. Stop caretaking. Don't feel guilty, and surrender to the rest of you that's here telling you this way, go do this, call so and so. And when you just do that and are willing to trust the rest of you, I'm here to tell you that all kinds of magical things happen. For me, I ended up inheriting money. My client that walked out of her marriage with only her purse, same thing. She inherited money from an aunt that she had had no contact with for 40 years, and that this aunt had written her off, basically said, I don't want anything to do with you. And then when the aunt passed, her estate was left to my client. There's all kinds of magical things that happen that don't when we have a death grip on circumstances with our minds and logic. I hope this helps. And gosh, if you have any questions, you can email me, wanda@theempoweredempaths.com. Use this time, really use this time to step into possibility, and to step out of who you thought you had to be to survive, then to step into what you would really love, because it's there for you. Thanks for listening.